Ghana is one of the countries with the longest and most stable democracies in Africa. And me personally, I think Ghana's democracy is one of the best democracies in the world. So today I want to talk about the man who is credited as the midwife of Ghana's democracy, Justice Daniel Francis Annan. How did a former appeals court judge convince Ghana's last military ruler, knock on wood, Chairman Rawlings, to take off his uniform, put on his batakari, and become President Jerry Rawlings, the first president of Ghana's Fourth Republic? It's a fascinating story, and we'll get into it. My name is Nenebi Tony. I'm a Ghanaian writer based in the US. And today I'm recording this in a music studio because I haven't set up my home studio yet. I moved to a new city. So let's get right into it. From 1979, when Jerry Rawlings did his first coup d'etat and was successful, he became a darling of the masses in Ghana. Most people who were not in the high economic class in Ghana were big fans of then Chairman Rawlings. But a lot of the intellectuals were not big fans of his. This is true in the whole world. Golf is the sport of intellectuals. And in the 1970s, boxing was considered the sport of the masses. So one time, Chairman Rawlings attended a boxing match in Buku, and he met a former Supreme Court Justice D.F. Annan. I say former Supreme Court Justice, even though officially Justice Annan is the former Court of Appeal Justice, because whenever Ghana was under military rule, our constitution was suspended. And if you don't know this, the Supreme Court of Ghana's job is interpreting the constitution. Everything else they do is part of their job of interpretation. So the only job the Supreme Court does formally is interpreting the constitution. So if you don't have a constitution, you don't need a Supreme Court. So whenever Ghana's constitution is suspended, the Supreme Court is suspended. So even though the Supreme Court is suspended, the people who are Supreme Court justices keep their title. They are demoted to Court of Appeal justices. So from 1971, when Justice Annan was a justice on the Ghana's Court of Appeal, he was, for all intents and purposes, a Supreme Court justice. But one member of the court, Justice Annan, met with Chairman Rawlings at a boxing match and told Chairman Rawlings that I'm not a hater of the revolution. I actually welcome it. So Chairman Rawlings, who is a big fan of Ghana's first president, Nkrumah, invited Justice Annan, because Justice Annan used to work with Dr. Nkrumah, to come and be part of his government. So Justice Annan, because of his status, was highly regarded by Chairman Rawlings. And Chairman Rawlings made Justice Annan the de facto vice chairman of his government. So in 1981, when Chairman Rawlings did his second coup d'etat and became the chairman of PNDC, Provisional National Defense Council, Justice Annan remained his de facto vice chairman. And this is fascinating. While Chairman Rawlings was the leader of the PNDC government, he didn't preside over cabinet meetings. His de facto vice, Justice Annan, presided over cabinet meetings. This is because Chairman Rawlings respected Justice Annan's hierarchy. when cabinet meetings were happening, the person sitting in the middle of cabinet meetings will be Vice Chairman Justice Annan. And then if there is a tie to be broken, that is when Chairman Rawlings will come in. And so in the late 80s, if you're a Ghanaian, you know this, that something happened called Kalabule, where a lot of business people in Ghana were accused of corruption, price hiking, and all that. And while fighting corruption is a good cause, the way the military went about it was wrong. They would bring some businessmen to martial court. Some of them face firing squad. You know what that means. And sometimes people will be accused of crimes and then they will face firing squad before they have a chance to be head out. And while Justice Annan, the de facto vice chairman of the PNDC, had so much power over the civilians who worked in the PNDC, he didn't have so much say-so on the military because Chairman Rawlings, because he was a military man, was the leader of all the military people. So Justice Annan thought, in order to curb the power of the military because they were running amok, I need Chairman Rawlings to distance himself from the military. And how would he do that? He did three things. Number one, he's put up a commission to look into setting up a constitution for Ghana to become a democracy. And two, they put out an economic team. That will be a different conversation. I don't want to go into it because that is a very complicated conversation, which is more fascinating for me. And three, he did a survey. And the survey was, if Ghana becomes a democracy, will Ghanaians vote Chairman Rawlings as the president of Ghana? And the results came back overwhelmingly in support of Chairman Rawlings. So Justice Annan went to Chairman Rawlings and told him that, look, the people of Ghana want democracy. I was saying this. Other countries in the world, including the United States, the UK, to take credit for Ghana's democracy. The IMF likes to take credit for Ghana's democracy. But Ghana's democracy happened because Ghanaians 100% wanted to be a democracy. No country in the world forced Ghanaians to become democracy. Because there are countries in the world, countries in Africa, who had military rulers after Ghana became a democracy, which the IMF and the US still did business with. So Ghana became a democracy because Ghanaians wanted to become a democracy. So when Justice Annan went to Chairman Rawlings and said, yo, Ghanaians want democracy. And two, Ghanaians want you to usher them into democracy. You see how smart he is? He went to the guy and said, the people want this. But the people want you to be the one to take them there. But in order for you to take them there, you need to retire from the military and become a civilian, because if you're going to be a democracy, the leader of our government can't be a military person. So he successfully convinced Chairman Rawlings to retire from the military and run and become the president of Ghana. And one way he did that is this. The 1992 Constitution of Ghana was written by consulting with a big cross-section of communities in Ghana. And the Constitution of Ghana has 299 articles. However, there's a part 2 in the Constitution of Ghana. The transition provisions in the Constitution were supposed to hold us from the period of when we are moving from military rulership to democracy. And there was a provision in the transition provision that said anything that the leaders of Ghana, including Chairman Rawlings, did as military leaders will not be prosecuted when Ghana becomes a democracy. He gave Chairman Rawlings full amnesty for all maybe crimes he committed while he was military ruler. And that is enticing because one of the reasons why usually military rulers have a hard time leaving office is they are scared their predecessors are going to retaliate against them. But he put it in the Constitution that you can retaliate against Rawlings. That protected Rawlings. So even if Rawlings had lost the 1992 Constitution, he wasn't going to face trial for anything he did before 1992. Again, smart. The third thing, he set up the Electoral Commission that will preside over the elections of Ghana. Some people say it was dubious how he did it. But Justice Annan, because he believed in democracy and wanted to move Ghana to democracy, was very intentional in all the actions he took behind the scenes. So the 1992 elections happened. Chairman Rawlings won the elections, and Chairman Rawlings became the first president of the Fourth Republic of Ghana. However, Justice Annan felt like even though Chairman Rawlings is the president now, his powers needs to be checked. Chairman Rawlings can't do anything he wants anymore because we are a democracy. But also, Chairman Rawlings has to answer to somebody. And who is Chairman Rawlings going to answer to? According to the Constitution of Ghana, Parliament. And Chairman Rawlings can decide to respect Parliament or not. Because our Constitution, our democracy was young at this point, and we don't know for sure if Chairman Rawlings will respect Parliament or not. So Justice Annan, again, was smart. So he said, I want to be Speaker of Parliament because Chairman Rawlings respects him. And so instead of staying in the presidency, becoming vice president or whatever, he became Speaker of Parliament, which will be considered a demotion from his position as a vice chairman of the PNDC, and became Speaker of Parliament because he wanted to install the respect of Parliament in the presidency. And that went because Chairman Rawlings respected Parliament. And there's a story people don't know, but you know, when Chairman Rawlings was the military ruler of Ghana, he did anything he wanted. He would do what we used to call boom talk. Just say anything he wants, do anything he wants without any regard for any law or person. However, when Ghana became a democracy, Justice Annan presented Chairman Rawlings with a copy of the first Constitution of Ghana, which Chairman Rawlings signed, but also Chairman Rawlings kept on his desk. And there is an interesting story people don't know. Whenever Chairman Rawlings, now President Rawlings, wanted to make any decision, he asked people or the lawyers around him, wait, does the Constitution allow me to do this? So President Rawlings started respecting the Constitution of Ghana from the moment it was signed, because Justice Annan made President Rawlings believe that the Constitution was more powerful than him. And it was. The Constitution is the most powerful person in Ghana. I say person because Justice Kraft said the Constitution is a living, breathing document. So it is a person. And the most powerful person in Ghana is the Constitution of Ghana, which is why since 1992 till date, every single president of Ghana have tried to amend the Constitution. And nobody had been able to successfully amend the Constitution, because it's not easy to amend the Constitution. It's not easy to reform the Constitution, because to amend and reform the Constitution takes so much work. The work that Justice Annan and the people who drafted the first Constitution did in the 1980s through to the early 90s, the current political class of Ghana don't have the vigor, the power, the tenacity, the work ethic to do. They do not. That is why they've not been able to amend the Constitution. It is not an easy feat to just wake up and amend the Constitution. It is not. That is why it is important that we recommend people that like Justice Annan, who drafted a document that is so powerful that nobody has been able to amend. I am sharing this story because we are getting close to September 21st, Kwame Nkrumah's birthday. So in the month of September, I'm going to talk a lot about the other founders of Ghana. Of course, I'll talk about Dr. Nkrumah a lot. What I'm trying to say is the Constitution of Ghana is a very powerful document. We should always love and cherish that document. And I'm proud to be a Ghanaian. I'll always be.